Welcome to Thoughts from the Road. My name is BJ Marshall. I'm the Executive Director of Highway Connections. And today, we're going to look into a topic that started because of a conversation I had with my kids in the yard trying to climb a tree. Now you may say, what's that got to do with trucking? Well, hang on, we'll get there. So, we were out in the yard and one of my daughters was up in the tree. And my youngest, 3 years old, wanted to climb the tree with her older sister. So I go over and she wants me to pick her up and put her in the tree. But the minute I put her in the tree, she wants back down. So we do this up and down thing for quite a while and a neighbor kid wanders over. And the neighbor kid is between the ages of my youngest and the daughter that's in the tree. And she asks me, she's like, can you put me in the tree? And I go, I'm sorry, I can't. Well, the daughter that's in the tree looks down at me and she goes, why can't you help this young girl into the tree with me? And I was like, that's a long conversation and we'll probably have to do it later. So over dinner that night, we started talking about the idea of responsibility and authority. And I used the story that we find in Luke chapter 7, where Jesus is going to heal the servant of a centurion. A Roman officer calls out to Jesus to say, come heal my servant, he's dying. Now, it kind of amazed me as I was reading through the story that Jesus actually went. He was on his way to heal this servant of an occupying pagan officer. It's crazy. But he's about a ways off, and the centurion sends his friends out and says, Jesus, you don't need to come to my house. Just, you say the word, it'll happen. I believe in this. And he says a very strange phrase, and we hear it a lot, but I want to read it for you here in Luke 7, verse 8. He says, for I also am a man placed under authority, with soldiers under me, and I say to this one, go, and he goes. And I say to another, come, and he comes. And to my slave, do this, and he does it. And I was asking my kids, I was like, why did this centurion not say, I'm a man with authority. I have this authority, so I tell people to do things and they do it. But instead he says, I'm a man under authority. You see, he understood how authority works. We all have authority, not because of who we are, but because of who placed us in that position. And for the situation with the tree, I didn't have the authority and thus did not have the responsibility for this other young lady. My kids, I think some of them got it. Some of them looked at me like, Dad, why are we doing a learning session at dinner? But that's okay. This got me thinking about the authorities that we find in our lives in the trucking world. So often as I was driving down the road, I'd see that cop sitting in the median, and man, my heart would almost speed up a little bit. My hands would get a little sweaty, not because I was doing anything wrong, but because I knew they had the authority to pull me over to check paperwork, to make sure my truck was operational. And I'd watch them from the time I could see them to the time they vanished from my rearview mirror. But should we be scared of that authority? No, I don't believe we should. We should respect it because that authority comes with the responsibility to keep us all safe. I remember one time I was coming through Tennessee and I got pulled in to show my paperwork at a scale. And I go and I do the typical, here's this, and they checked it all, everything looks good, have a nice day. And as I was leaving, I turned and I stopped and I said, guys, I just want to thank you all for everything that you do to keep us safe. The shocked faces in that room was sad. Almost every single one of those troopers looked at me like I was crazy. And one actually said, thank you, we don't hear that very often. You see, they have the authority to keep us safe and that responsibility. As a truck driver, I had the authority to drive that truck, but I also had the responsibility of keeping it safe. We each are placed in a place of authority, and that comes with responsibility. Now, whether your authority and responsibility is small or whether it's large, that's where you're placed. But we are all encouraged by the Lord to do the best we can, to give everything as if we are doing it for the Lord. So as you are going about your day, whether you see a cop car or whether you are dealing with that person that's in authority over you, thank them, pray for them, and have a safe journey and keep your eyes on the road.